Well, hello friends, this here's David Vos. Today is April the 18th, 2016. And it's good to see everybody today. I'm out here in my backyard here in New Mexico. And, my dog doesn't like that cat because that cat's protecting his baby, so. He's a loving dog and he loves the kittens, but he doesn't like that cat because he's scared of the cat because the cat clawed him and stuff. No, come on, leave the cat alone. So anyway, hopefully they'll become friends, but right now that cat doesn't want the dog anywhere near her kittens. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of different things: vibrations, computers. I hope that the wind, there's a little bit of wind, not too much, but there's a little bit of wind today, and I hope it doesn't kind of interfere with you guys being able to hear me. But, vibrations, computers, I wanted to talk about our essence. See, I think a lot of people today, especially Christianity, because see, we were taught in the Western way of thinking, so we don't know a lot about spiritual, esoteric things. For about 2,000 years, they've stamped out spiritual thought. To the point where if anybody thinks spiritually in our modern society, or maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, they were considered occult, which that was a bad word. See, it just means hidden. There's no evil people that said, hey, let's invent some evil religion, we'll call it hidden. See, if it was evil, they would call it evil. The reason they called it hidden is because this was knowledge that most people didn't have, because for one reason or another, a lot of the people who have this knowledge was using it to their own advantage and were trying to keep it away from you and I. And so this is the reason why Catholic Church got rid of a lot of the esoteric wisdom, such as any parables and information that was in our scripture. They took it out. We can find some of that in the Nag Hammadi library that they dug up in 1945. But a lot of this ancient wisdom was taken away. So it's hard for Western man to understand spirit. Now, around about 1700 AD, there was the beginning of some thing we call science. Sir Isaac Newton and Copernicus and certain people like Swedenborg, which a lot of times, most people today, like a lot of Christians, think that was just an entirely a scientific revolution. We use the word scientific, and we have this word scientific, which just means to investigate truth, right? But we've got this word scientific, and for us, that's something completely different than spirituality. So we think in our minds of Sir Isaac Newton, and we think, well, he was a scientist. He didn't believe in spiritual things. He wasn't religious and all that hockey puck. He wasn't a witch or a sorcerer. Well, actually, he came from the tradition of those people that were hunted down and massacred in the Inquisition. They were called witches and sorcerers. He learned his wisdom from the Emerald Tablets. This goes back to Thoth from Egypt. And these were these mystery schools that were being taught in the area of Spain for up until about 1500, and then was sort of introduced into Europe, and schools were started, and certain groups like the Templars and the Masons spread this information into all the places, even over here in America. So yes, Newton was very spiritual. One of the great scientists that was one of the greatest of the scientists, his name was Swedenborg. He actually invented a great deal of the things that we have today. Most people have never heard of Swedenborg. He wrote some books. And even though he was a great scientist, he believed in a lot of spirituality. And he left his body, and in spirit he went to other realms and spoke to angels and so forth. A lot of you out there might be interested in reading some of the works of Swedenborg. He wrote Heaven and Hell. Now, Sir Isaac Newton was also of the same tradition, the Zohar and the Kabbalah tradition that goes back through the Essenes, that brought that information into Spain. And then from there into the Templars and the Masonic traditions. And What a lot of people don't realize is that Sir Isaac Newton wrote more books about spirituality than he did about science. Because you see, for him it was the same thing. So in the Western world, this spirituality was introduced to us, but we didn't want it. See, well, it wasn't just so much us, it was this church that we were involved in. This blindness, this fear. You were a witch if you got into spirituality. And so when these people, the esoteric teachers such as Sir Isaac Newton, began to teach that the earth was round and the stars were zillions of miles away, and there was a thing called an invisible force called electricity and stuff, they threatened to kill them. They killed many of them. They tortured and murdered many, many millions of them. Well, today, this wisdom has come down to us in the form of science. But to this very day, most of us, we actually believe, because what we've been told in tradition, that this science is something different than spirituality. It's important that we understand that there's very little difference between energy, E equals mc squared, which is a mathematical formula. It's very scientific and exact and truthful, as most of us in the Western world understand. But there's very little difference from that. There's no difference in that than learning about spiritual things, because spiritual things is an exact science. It's not anything that's not real. It doesn't do any good to study it anyway. You're going to study about spiritual things. See, you're going to be studying about spirit. And that's a Hebrew word or a Greek word. Well, it's the same word that they would translate wind. So you see, oh, see, there it is. It's just wind. It's not energy. Wind's nothing, right? Well, what they're trying to convey by that word, I mean, they named the word wind, or when they saw the wind, they named it spirit, which meant something to them that we've lost. It means an invisible power, or that the force, like in Star Wars, you know, they talk about the force be with you. See, this force was invisible, but it was very powerful. And it's what controlled everything. And you could use it with telepathy, and you could make rocks move like Yoda. It was a very spiritual but powerful force. That's what the word means. And so we've come down in this Western tradition, and we've gotten to the point now where we've got computers. But we still think this is all mechanical. You know, and something completely different than spirit. And yet here we are communicating hundreds, maybe thousands of miles apart from each other. Communicating through the air. There's no wires. If you're watching this video, you're probably watching it through your video, through your machine, and it's plugged into the wall. But you realize that the signal's coming from the air. You see, we've almost gotten to a point where we're going to have to admit that science is just spirituality. If it's true, you know it's true because you're sitting here watching me. You can't deny that what I am, the thoughts that I'm conveying to you, are going right through the air and right into your computer, and by means of the computer, they're going into your mind. What is this computer? Well, it's just basically a cardboard, like a wooden board, and it's got these things called chips on it. And then there's circuits. Now the circuit is just a way for the energy to get through. And the energy goes into these circuits. Into these chips. These chips are basically made out of sand. Now you could make much more elaborate chips that would hold a lot more information. In the ancient times they did. Because you see, they make these chips out of sand because every little granule of sand is a crystal. If you've ever gone to the beach and you pick up a handful of sand, you notice they're all little crystals. Well, crystals are able to hold refracted light. And light is this thing we call spirit, or energy. E equals mc squared. And energy travels through light the fastest. But when it slows down, it becomes hot. See, and it becomes mass, and then it turns into matter. This is how you transform energy into matter, and this is what the universe is. This is what we call science. But in reality, this is spirituality. This means that I can communicate with you through telepathy. So, well, what's that have to do with computers? This isn't telepathy. This is a computer. It's a mechanical machine. Well, we're using the mechanical world to sort of accentuate our spiritual powers. Because you see, I'm still communicating with my mind. I'm talking into the air, and this vibration goes into the speaker or the microphone, somehow gets through these little wires and into the air and then into your computer. So we're using the physical, mechanical ways because we're not very good at using telepathy without the computer. But in a sense, we're still using the air. We're just focusing it like as if you were going to focus a light ray through a concave glass, and you're focusing the light and get it to go into one point and you can start a fire. You focus your power. Doesn't lessen the fact that that power is very, very strong and very powerful, but you have to learn how to focus it. So since we in the West don't know anything about spirituality, we don't realize the power of our thoughts, which are spirit, and our mind, which is mind over matter, we go throughout the day just having all these negative thoughts and don't realize just how debilitating all of these negative thoughts are. But they're going into the world. They're vibrations. And we're sending out these negative vibrations, and so all of our hopes and dreams aren't going to come true. See? The Bible says that we send our bread upon the waters and it returns unto us after many days. You see, have you ever been on the water and you drop a pebble and these little ripples go out? And then after what gets to a certain point, this energy vibration, then it begins to come back. And as it comes back, it brings with it this tide, and there might be sticks or any kind of other thing in that tide, and it brings it back to the center. And that's what happens. That's what everything in the world, in the universe is. We're all vibrations. We all create our own energy pattern. We all have our own DNA, our own pattern. When two people communicate, then their vibrations come together and then they come back. And we become one with everything around us. We learn, we incorporate that energy into ourselves. But our own entity, our own identity, we have an actual imprint of who we are as an entity. And so the world is vibration. The world is light. And this is spirituality. This is what spirit is. See, the whole earth is, we call it mass. We see it. There it is. It's a physical thing. But it's made of energy. So you split an atom and there's this great, amazing force inside of matter. And this is what science today is teaching, but in a very mechanical way. And most of us haven't realized that this is just spiritual things that we're learning. Now, most of you, I think, will follow along up to this point. But still, there's a lot of doubts in people's mind. And I want to talk a little bit about how you as an individual can never die. See, we've been told so many lies, it's just very confusing. Our religion, Christianity, has told us that, some of our religions in Christianity teach that we're going to die and just go off into oblivion. So some of you are scared that this will be your last life and then you'll go off into nowhere. Atheism, some of that teaches that. But even Christians teach that, a lot of Christians teach that you're going to live forever, but they teach you're going to go to heaven, you're going to go to hell. This is ridiculous. Okay? Anybody who doesn't understand that the Bible is very symbolic and that hell is just a place of not eternal torture, but a place that we can learn and grow. And these flames are symbolic of the physical experiences and the sufferings that we have in our many lifetimes. But we only go through these sufferings in order to learn. Our Father in heaven is love, and He doesn't punish people just for the sake of, it's not all just punitive. It's only in order for us to grow and learn. And as I've said in many of my videos, 2 Corinthians 3 verse 18 talks about how we go from glory to glory. See, we advance. And 1 Corinthians chapter 15 talks about all the different bodies that we go through. There are 3 glories of the physical realm. Actually 4. There's fish and birds and mammals and humans. And then in the higher glories, there's 3 different glories. And then the stars. Each star differs in star and glory. We go from glory to glory. We advance. In the earthly realm, you've got fish and birds, mammals, and men. Now you notice how that's a graduation. The fish are in the water. It's a lower species. The birds are in the air. That's higher species. And the mammals, higher species, and then human. So it's a graduation. You go from glory to glory to glory. Now once you sort of ascend out of this physical, carnal realm and you become spiritual, you don't stop growing and learning there. Because you see, that is represented with 3 different grades. There's the moon and the sun and the stars, and each star differs from star in glory. So in reality, these glories go on forever and ever and ever, because we find out now that the stars go on forever and ever. But in a sense, the moon, you see, is a lesser glory than that of the sun, and the stars are even higher than the sun. And there's so many different glories beyond that, that at that point, each star differs from star in glory, and we can't even comprehend the glories that are to follow. But this is what this verse is talking about, this transmigration of the soul. Some people call this reincarnation. And when you're talking about it from the point of view of human beings on this earth in the last few thousand years, we call it reincarnation. But when you're talking about the advancing of the human soul from the very beginning, then we call it transmigration, from glory to glory. So you see, the Bible is very clear on this, and I've got other videos that try to go into this and explain this a little bit. But in the Western world, we were never taught this kind of thing. So we don't understand spirit. But what I want to talk to you guys about is, because since, a lot of us don't really know what spirit is, and we don't, we're a little worried. Some of us are a little scared, and maybe when we die, that's it. We don't know, are we going to live on, and how are we going to live on? And even if it's reincarnation, what does that mean? Is this ego going to continue? Well, here's something that, like I said at the beginning of this, science is very exact. You don't have to wonder about it. You can, from one small theorem, prove truth beyond that. See, you can say 2 and 2 is 4. And you know that, and you can demonstrate it. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see that with my own eyes. However, I don't know if 1,458 million divided by pi, I can't figure that out. I have to go by this formula that will tell me the answer. We use that formula over and over and over again. We have formulas for the pressure in air and finding the circumference of a circle and the mass of the Earth or of other stars far, far, far away. Got a lot of people today that are into this flat Earth thing, and they're like, "Oh, well, this can't be true. This flat Earth, the Earth is round and all stuff because we can't observe it with our own eyes." But you're ignoring the fact that we've already gone through this for thousands of years, since the days of Pythagoras when he invented geometry. Come on now, wake up. Let's catch up and get on with the program. Christians are told, "Oh, don't listen to that Pythagoras. He was one of those sorcerers. Don't be listening to any of these occult Kabbalists and esoteric teachers." So see, you do have a lot of deception. But friends, science is a proven mathematical, scientific formula. It's through observation. If you can't believe your own eyes, and you take and you with a small observation you prove one thing, and then through that you can prove other things. This has gone on for hundreds of years. The scientists, you got to keep up. See, if you've not gone to these higher degrees of learning, and if you've not learned geometry and calculus and physics, then you're not going to know if what they're saying about the stars and the Earth is round and E equals MC squared, you're not going to know if it's true. But friends, just look at the computer that you're talking on. If E equals MC squared is not true, if quantum physics is not true, then how are they getting the information that you're listening through your computer, through the air, onto that satellite? If you don't believe in satellites. So friends, this science is what's true. It's religion, modern religion, that's false. We've got to go back to the original religion, the spiritual truth that it's been hidden from us. See, we were all accused of being witches and we were burned at the stake. They tried getting rid of all this stuff. So what they did was they put this religious truth into science. They started teaching it in schools so that the masses, because you see, when the followers of Christ, the Cathars, later on were massacred in inquisitions, they had to go underground and form these societies called Masons and Templars. And through this they went in. Do you know what the Templars did? They went into Europe and built cathedrals. What were the cathedrals for? They put libraries and places of learning and communities and better governments. They're the ones who brought democracy. They're the ones who created the Constitution here in America. Freedom and liberty and justice for all. This is real. This is true. So you've got to be able to rightly divide history and understand, because if they'd come in here, these dark Jesuit priests have come in here and infiltrated these truths. They've taken all these ancient symbols, such as the cross, the pentagram, and all these other ancient symbols, and they turned them all upside down and turned it into a mockery. And they've gotten you so scared of it that you're scared to learn anything. But you see, Sir Isaac Newton got all his wisdom from this ancient esoteric wisdom, but it's been lost to us. So, what I'm trying to tell you is that religion was supposed to be here to teach us, but what they did was they couched it all in parables and symbols so that we forgot the truth, and now we're just trusting some guy in a black robe, and we're scared, and we don't know if we're really going to live forever or not. We know that if we don't be real good and like a good little slave, and and do everything right and do penance and stuff like this and pray every day, that we're gonna go to hell and burn. And this is all superstition. This is what the Masons tried to combat, this superstition, these lies. See, we're in the 21st century now, friends. We've got to wake up. Science is the truth. The higher wisdom, spirit, is the same word today we use in science as energy. And energy can be transformed into matter, and matter into energy. So you look at your body and you see that it's made out of matter. Now, science tells you that inside of every cell there's DNA. Well, you know what that is. But what that is it's a spiritual thing. It's a pattern. It's a vibration. You are a vibration. You have your own unique vibration. And that vibration can never be lost. This is not some hokey-pokey religious thing. This is science. You can never die, because you have a pattern. Your DNA can never perish. Spirit is just transformed into matter and then back into spirit again. So when we leave here, this shell just falls off, but we're not gone. The DNA doesn't go anywhere. It's real small. It doesn't need a physical body to exist. There are subtle bodies within this physical body. Bodies that you and I cannot even see with the human eye, because it's of a different dimension, a different frequency. It's still the same vibration. It's still vibrating out there. That vibration is not going to change. You're not going to just perish. But the outer shell might get dropped off. And then it'll recede, and then someday you'll go back out and have that shell again. See, this is taught in the scriptures. In Corinthians, the Apostle Paul teaches that which we sow is maybe a bare grain, it may be, or a seed, but it has to die first before it can be made alive. See, the seed's inside the shell, and the shell's there to keep it and protect it. And when it goes into the ground, it has to die, or the shell has to rot so that it can open up a place for the roots to come down, and it sprouts and grows. So the death of that shell is not the death of the seed that's within it. It's actually the birth of that seed that's within it. And that seed, the embryo, is your DNA. It's your actual essence. You haven't even been born yet. You're worried about dying, and you haven't even been born yet. You're still down here in this little shell, laying on the ground, this earthly carnal life. Once this carnal life dies and goes back into the soil, that's just food, so that you could sprout as a spiritual being, fly away into the farthest realms in the universe. You're a spiritual being. You're that seed, that pattern, that DNA, that light that's inside. Nothing can take that away from you. And this deceiver that's in this world, the ego, he's jealous. He says, I'm the physical world, and I am, and there's nothing else. Anything I can't see with my physical eyes, I don't believe in it. And I want justice. See, everything matters in this physical world. And if you don't obey and do what I say, you're going to die. Well, don't be afraid, friends. Don't let him bluff you. He's just an illusion, because you're on a journey, and this journey's forever. And it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful journey. So, friends, computers. Today, We're just beginning to understand how these things travel through the air and satellites and vibrations, and it goes into these little chips. But you see, we don't need to create all this. We're doing all this materialistic, luxurious, mechanical things. We're not a spiritual man yet. We're still carnal. We're still using carnal machines like this computer. See, the really advanced spiritual souls, they use computers. Your mind is a computer. We don't need wires, okay? We use Wi-Fi. We go right through the air, telepathy. And you can transform a rock. You can put that information right into a rock. Any physical thing can house light or energy. And that's memory. That's vibration. That's a code. See? And that code can be retrieved right through the air. How's it done? Through the will. Through the human will. Through the intent. All you have to do is you speak a word with intent, and it's carried out. That's why at the end of our prayer we say amen. See, basically it's like saying, okay, now I've told you what to do, carry it out, so be it. We don't have to question it. It's science. See, you give and you shall receive. Forgive and you shall be forgiven. Love, you'll be loved. See, we don't need to go by this eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. We're under a new law, the law of love. Whatever we do unto others is going to come back unto us. And we understand that. It's just wisdom that we show love to everyone. We have a mutual interest in love because it helps us all to grow. See, compassion and love is within us. It's a natural. You just have to reach in there, find it, and follow after that spirit. You need no man to teach you. You're a spiritual being. You don't need these laws and carnal contraptions and computers and all of this physical stuff that we're dealing with today. Go off into a lonely place. In the nature and in the quiet of your thoughts, if you intend something, if you believe in something, and you have faith and you're sincere, then you can cause those things to happen. Those things will happen. But if you're constantly in this negative mode, then these negative thoughts are destroying all of your positive intentions. You dream a dream, and you have faith and you have hope in that dream, and you pursue that dream, it's going to happen. See? If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could tell this mountain to be uprooted and thrown into the sea, and it would obey you. The problem is that you're afraid. You have doubt. Friends, you're looking at the carnal, and you're not looking at the spiritual. See, in science, you just need to know the formula, and then you have to believe in that. It's the truth. Whether you believe in it or not, it's the truth. And whether you believe in faith or not, it's the truth. So if you believe that everything bad's going to happen to you, then it will. Because it's from you that everything happens. Whatever you give, that's what you're going to receive. This is the scientific principles. So you've got to get with the program. See? There's nothing to worry about. We're free. We're the children of our Father in heaven. Whatsoever we say, it's got to be done. We're the heirs to all the universe. We own all this. This is ours. So we've got to grow up now, become spiritual, and get rid of all of this past stuff and get over it. Let's move on. Let's move on to love and goodness and happiness and knowing that we have everything we need. There's nothing to be afraid of. And Jesus said, don't give any thought for what you're to wear, what you're to eat, because the nations, they do all these things. But our Father in heaven will give us everything we need. We just have to pursue love and righteousness. And if we see someone in need, give. You see someone who's homeless, help them out. Do what you can. Share everything you have with everyone else, and it'll all come back to you. And believe in only good things. Get rid of all of these negative things you've got going on in your life. Stop pursuing this insane rat race. Find you a place, a little piece of land out in the country. And start living a simple life. Laughing, having fun with your family, pursuing beautiful, joyous pursuits. So, friends, we're all going to live forever. This is a scientific fact. And our Heavenly Father loves us. And we're all saved. There is no condemnation in us. We have to get rid of that guilt that's inside this inner chamber. This, we're the temple of the living Father of Heaven, the divine being. And this outer body, that's the court. And you got to go into the most holy, where the divine being is. And when you go in there, you can't allow any guilt or any fear, because you got to go into that throne with boldness. See, we enter into his tents with praise, with boldness. And whatsoever we ask in faith, we'll receive it. So, friends, I think I'm going to go ahead and close. That's all I got to say on that. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, and you guys have a great day.